season is over and the playoff picture is set. No surprise in the West, as the Rockets are the 1 seed and the reigning champs. The Warriors are the 2. Golden State just limped into the playoffs, going 7-10 down the stretch, missing their leader in Steph Curry. Their matchup in the first round, the 7-seed Spurs, missing their leader, Kawhi Leonard, who's played just 9 games this season. Coach, can the Spurs challenge the Warriors in the first round?
I wish I had a special announcement right now that Kawhi will be back.
Wouldn't that be great to announce?
Certainly would. I think San Antonio would really appreciate that.
Pop would be like, there you go.
But having dropped 3 out of the 4 games this season to Golden State, Pop has been obsessed the last few years of finding ways to beat Golden State. And let's go back to game 1 of the playoffs a year ago, when they up 20, 18 points against Golden State, and Kawhi goes down. And Kawhi goes down, and that was the end of it.
Yep. And they were, by the way, that was midway near the tail end, or midway through the 3rd quarter. So I say that to say this. They couldn't hold. It'd be one thing if, they had this big lead, Kawhi gets hurt, they then lose the series. They lost that game. Once Kawhi went down, they couldn't even hold a near 20-point second-half lead, which I think goes to your point. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, this is just how important that piece was. And this team has waited the entire season. And look, you guys might know what's going on behind the scenes, but this is very strange. Whatever has gone on, whatever the division is between Kawhi's camp and the Spurs organization, very unlike the San Antonio organization to have something like this happen. And you have to scratch your head and say, what's going on?
Let me fill you in.
Tell me.
All right? The organization, the doctor said clearly Kawhi. Kawhi went back out there. He felt discomfort when he was playing. He's like, I'm not 100%. I can't play. They kept telling him that you are 100%. He decided, said, no, I'm not. And I'm going to go get a second opinion. So in doing that and trying to get comfortable, he could never get where he thought he could play 100%. He felt like they weren't listening to him and didn't believe him. Like he had some other motive. And there's people around Kawhi's camp that felt like San Antonio's streak of making it to the playoffs was more important than Kawhi's health. So that's also behind the scenes what they've been battling.
Yeah, and one of the things we should mention about that situation took place. They were never informed, San Antonio, the front office, that he was going on his own with his camp for this second opinion in New York City. So all of a sudden word gets back and somebody goes up to the head coach and says, I saw Kawhi. Oh, really? Where? In New York City at the clinic. And I was like,
City MD.
Oh, okay. Like, wouldn't you tell the team that's paying you X number of dollars and wanting to give you X number more when your contract
right, because you could still accomplish that.
Just
you could still get the second opinion.
I'd like to get a second. You're entitled to.
The disconnect between Kawhi and the Spurs will be the biggest storyline this offseason that isn't where LeBron James is going to go play basketball. It will be the clear-cut second biggest story of the offseason. But there was a lot of speculation. Will Kawhi come back? Is he coming back? He ain't coming back. So the Spurs are going to be playing Golden State. What's up, Steve?
I told you wasn't coming back.
Okay, yeah, a while ago you did. That is correct. We were the Spurs seemed to think he might be coming back on a certain date. I remember a Thursday a few weeks ago.
October something. Remember that? We all waited.
But it never came. So here's what we know. The Warriors have played the Spurs 4 times this year. Spurs won once. The one they won, Steph didn't play. Clay didn't play. KD didn't play. So throw that game out. I'm looking at the 8 teams that made the Western Conference playoffs, Coach. If the Warriors could have picked any one as their first-round matchup, I believe they would have picked San Antonio. All of a sudden, the Warriors not being the 1 seed is actually working for them in the first round. Because Minnesota, you can squint hard enough and say, no Steph, Jimmy Butler back, Karl Anthony Towns. Like, that could be a tough matchup for them. They are delighted right now. Now, they might feel differently in Western Conference Finals when they don't have home court. But they are delighted right now they're the 2 seed. They got, of all the teams they could have gotten, except for Denver, who didn't even make it, the team they most wanted to get in the first round. Like, this was what happened last night worked out beautifully for Golden State.
Yeah, San Antonio's a team, the last 10 games, they're 5-5. Jenny, you talk about Golden State struggling coming in. Golden State didn't have anything to play for. They had no need to strive to close it out really strong. They were 4-6 in their last game. So I don't look for this to be a tough matchup. You mentioned Popovich. One of the things right now that he would love to do would be able to solve the puzzle of the Golden State and what they do with their offense. He never thought that he'd be solving that equation without Kawhi Leonard. So without that two-way player, the best two-way player in the world, Like, they don't have a chance in this series. I think San Antonio knows it. They have what they in boxing a puncher's chance, and that's because they have pop. All right, and that's the only reason.
I don't know how much Pau Gasol has left in him right now to be productive at this level in the playoffs. But if you think back when they put this puzzle together in San Antonio, Cousins, DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis, it was LaMarcus Aldridge and Pau Gasol. Could you play big, two big guys, and be successful? And I think that's how they looked at it initially when they put it together. And then they saw that Pau maybe couldn't do it every night at the same level he had done it. So Pau was asked to go to the bench and come off the bench. But for them to beat Golden State, they have to make every shot. Danny Green has to make shots, okay?
Patty Mills
has to make shots. Bertans, if he comes to the game, has to make shots. And then Tony Parker has to give him minutes. All those guys have to play at the top of their game. But as you mentioned, for Golden State, they get to rest the guy that is the key to their success, and that's Curry.
Right.
He can take a little bit longer to come back now because of the matchup.
Go ahead, Jenna.
I was going to say, nobody more disappointed that Kawhi Leonard's not playing than Pop, because this would have been the one opportunity you have to really have an advantage here.
Well, and keep in mind, Golden State and the Spurs never played each other this whole run. This was a Spurs era in the West that laid way to the Golden State era in the West. Golden State took that from them without ever beating them in a series. Because the first 2 years in the playoffs, they didn't play the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs got knocked out by the Clippers, got knocked out by Oklahoma City. So Golden State never had to take the Spurs off the corner. Last year in the Western Conference Finals, we thought, oh, we're going to get to see it. The team that went to back-to-back finals 2 years prior and 3 years prior against the team that had gone to back-to-back finals the last years in Golden State. And we thought we were going to get an epic series. Then Kawhi gets hurt, and even though it's a different injury, everything's been different since then. Multiple injuries since then, and now we're not going to get to see it. Theoretically, as long as Kawhi's a Spur, like, this could be Kawhi's last season as a Spur without ever getting to see the Warriors and the Spurs at full strength go up against each other.
Quickly, before we move on, is this the series you're most looking forward to seeing in the West? Is there another one you have your eye on?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think an upset could happen very easy, is that New Orleans-Portland series. New Orleans they're a tough out right now.
Yes. Alvin Gentry's done a tremendous
job. Rondo,
job.
he's a championship guy. Okay?
Yes.
He's been there. He understands. He has really asserted himself and trying to be a leader for this team. And Anthony Davis is playing out of his head. The series that, besides that upset one, Oklahoma City and Utah, that could be something else.
That's a coin flip to me.
Yeah, it really is.
A lot of fun to look forward to there. Coach, thanks for hanging out with us today. Appreciate the insight. Hey, coming up, why is Russell Westbrook getting criticized after averaging a triple-double again? That's next on First Things First.
Do your thing. Fulfill. Realize. Love. Not like.